I'm sure you've heard a lot in the news. There was a lot of talk about how to transition everything in the education industry over to an online format. And so, one of the things that this whole situation really taught me is that even if I may not be the most proactive of workers, where I'm like out there using all of my free time to look into the things that literally nobody asked me to do and see if that's just not who I am as a worker. However, what I lack in that, innate proactivity, I definitely make up for in my ability to quickly pivot and not panic and think of solutions. So when this whole COVID situation happened, I took a pretty major role in transitioning my office's duties and what we did over to the virtual format. So I was in charge of creating a lot of content for the new digital format. So that all went into place. We also, because of this whole situation, we also were granted the opportunity. It's something I'm really happy about, where we were almost forced to adopt a policy that I've been sort of advocating for a while, because I think it's this policy leads to just more equity in education, which is something I'm passionate about. So we adopted this policy, but the other sort of side of this is that by adopting this policy, we also had to completely revamp a review process that we had. Okay. So another thing that I took on during this time was actually, and this was one of those situations where I was proactive. I came up with a review rubric, basically, with a few other people, but it was my doing, basically. And so I came up with this rubric. I was an integral part of sort of deciding how we were going to proceed with the new policy and the way that we reviewed things. So it was a big part of all that, which is so awesome, really great. It's something that I'm proud of. I'm really excited that my voice was heard, that, I had a lot of say in this, right? So the problem, I think, really kicked in the fall, where it was just we had to do everything that we've always done every year, regardless the other side, and I'm gonna get some more gum because this already lost its flavor. So, hold that thought. Let me get one of these green guys. I'll get the first thing that pops up. Okay, it's red. Good. One of these red guys. The red's good. It's a big wad of gum. Okay, so I had all that going on with work. In addition to being a full-time employee, I also am a full-time student. So the way I've been managing it for the most part is only taking a few classes, enough to get me to the part-time status up until now. But last semester I was a full-time student taking the coursework of a full-time graduate student, in addition to the full-time work. So it was just a lot to have to handle being full-time in both of those positions. And in the case of work, honestly, working more than full-time. Like I said, I was working past my hours most days of the week. I mean, there were some nights, especially towards the end, where I was going to bed at like 2 a.m. So there was just a lot on my plate at work. So much so that, to be honest with you, it didn't leave a lot of room in my life to devote myself to my studies as much as I wanted to. So I think a big part of my stress was, you know, I take a lot of pride in being a good student and prioritizing my schoolwork in a way that I need to. And that's how I've always been, you know. One of the main parts of my identity growing up was I was one of the smart kids. Academics, you know, came easily to me. That's not to say I didn't work hard, because I did work very hard in school, but you know, it's just like one of the parts of my identities. I was good academically. So I've carried that into my graduate studies as well. I think a big part of it, though, is just this fear of failure and this fear of, I don't know, perceived as not that great. I don't know. Therapy. I'll work that out in therapy. But like, one of the problems from this last semester was that I was putting so much of my time and effort into work that at the end of the day, I didn't have any more energy to care about school anymore. And so I was just slacking. I wasn't doing the work, not doing the reading. And instead of letting me relax, this was actually getting me even more worked up and nervous and stressed out. And honestly, sometimes when I should have been studying or I should have been doing something for school, I would seek relief by filming a video instead. But I mean, as you get closer to the end of the semester, there are tons of papers and projects and exams coming up. I knew that I had to, you know, sit down and do my work and prioritize work in school. And so what that did is that it didn't leave a lot of time for my because there just wasn't as much interest in my content in those few weeks, which also sort of like decreased the motivation, I think. In my head I was like, well, if no one's watching, not no one, I know there were lots of people watching, and I so appreciate those people that, were willing to watch anything that I put out. But I was seeing a drop in viewership and interest, and so that, in conjunction with the knowledge that filming videos, editing videos was taking time away from work and school, I just knew that I needed to give myself a little bit of a break and a little bit of grace. And just take care of business, And that being said, like, all I wanted to do that whole time was to get back to filming and get back into making videos for you all and talking to you all and interacting with you all. So I'm really excited that it's the beginning of a new year, a new semester. The classes that I'm taking hopefully should be a little less heavy. I'm a little bit more interested in them also, so I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm just making more of a commitment to myself to not let things pile up and then stress me out even more and go down that whole rabbit hole. I'm really gonna try to be more on top of it this year. So I've started a bullet journal where I'm gonna keep track of the things that I need to do. I'm also gonna schedule things for myself for my channel in addition to scheduling things for school and for work. So hopefully I'll get a little bit of a better balance and all that. Oh, I forgot something else. In addition to dealing with all of that, my roommate also decided to move back in with her family, which was by far, it was the best thing for her. And I don't begrudge her that, but it sort of put me in this position of, do I get a rando roommate in the middle of a pandemic when I don't know how they're going to be handling, their health and safety, and I don't want to put myself or my fiance at risk by moving in with someone I don't know. Or does it mean, me moving out and moving into my own place? And so this is actually what led to my fiance and I getting engaged. Not out of necessity. I mean, we would have wanted to have been engaged by then anyway. But it just encouraged us to not wait until after the pandemic was over and, do a really small civil ceremony in the upcoming months, and then wait until after the pandemic to have the full-on wedding. But, I mean, that was going on, being unsure about what I was going to do, having to worry about money, and then in addition to all of this, I was making half of my salary at the time, so putting in all of those hours and only making half of my salary. And it's not that they were robbing me, like my job wasn't robbing me or anything. I knew that was happening. It happens every year at around that time. It's for a specific reason, but it just felt like a slap in the face to be working over 40 hours a week for them and only getting paid half my salary. So So that's why you've seen more like blank walls and stuff like that versus my background and being a little bit more cramped before. So that's why. But by the time you see this, I will be in my new apartment. So wish me luck. Kind of worried about having to furnish an entire apartment and like buy everything that I need for an entire apartment, because basically everything of this apartment, specifically the living room, was all my roommates. All of it was hers. So when she left and she took everything, I basically don't have a living room right now. So I'm gonna have to buy an entire living room, kitchen, bedroom. I mean, we're gonna have to buy so many things. So that's kind of stressful too. But thankfully, I'm back to my full salary instead of that measly half salary. So hopefully that helps. I mean, it's still going to be expensive no matter what. So I'm just really being careful, I think, with the money that I'm spending. Except for, there's